Happy Sunday, Risers. We're back with another round of hashtag Rising Qs where we answer your questions. And I think, Ryan, the first one is yours.
All right. So this question comes from Alan Nolan. Name 3 politicians on the national stage who, even if you might not agree with them politically, you respect and admire. I think admire is a bit tough because I don't really admire any politicians, but also you shouldn't really admire politicians. That's kind of like whether you're a voter, a journalist, anything. Like it's not really a place to be in.
They're always going to disappoint you at some point, right? I mean, that's
right. There was a great Onion headline. It's like it said something like, Gen Z voter learns politician that they had stand as fallible, immediately loses all interest in and all faith in politics. It's like that's another reason you don't want to put people on a pedestal, because they will disappoint you, and then you'll be like, well, I'm out of here. But they are right. They're there to serve the public. I mean, if you're politicians whose skill you respect, I'd probably say both Harry Reid and Mitch McConnell, like in different ways, like both kind of masters of their game. I actually think Harry Reid kind of outmastered Mitch McConnell on several occasions. Mitch McConnell, of course, outlasted Harry Reid, who died just recently. I'll have had a tribute to him on my Intercept podcast that just came out, kind of a tribute episode with a bunch of his former staffers, so you can look into his kind of amoral political mastery, even if you're horrified by it.
I don't have any respect for those people whatsoever.
Wait, Ryan, you have to give a third one.
Oh, well, then third, got to go with Eric Adams. I mean, the guy's just hilarious, and out of that like that chaos of a Democratic primary, the public just got the most entertaining of all worlds they could have gotten.
Okay, Robbie, what are your 3?
I don't know. These count. I'm sort of dodging, I guess, the narrow purpose of the question, because I don't really respect or admire like any political figures. I mean, the ones I admire are like, yes, the ones who are in a libertarian-ish tradition, or alternative people like Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard and Justin Amash. But those are like sort of my people. So I would say I tend to admire Supreme Court justices. I appreciate their thinking. I admired both Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Antonin Scalia. So that would be my answer to the question. I enjoyed reading some of their opinions, even when I disagree with them. And I appreciate that they do have principles that are a little bit less flexible than the principles of regular political figures. So that's my answer, and I can't even come up with a third one.
Okay, well, I admire many of the same people that you mentioned for many of the same reasons, being kind of rogue outsiders. And I think if I were to name my 3 right now who are currently serving in office on the national stage, I would say, sort of in that same vein, I really do, I would say, appreciate or admire, I guess, in a way, Rand Paul. I think that he is somebody who goes against the grain, speaks against everybody. I really like that about him. Ro Khanna, I have a lot of respect for. We have Ro Khanna here on the show. I really like Ro a lot. I feel like he's very consistent with a lot of his policies. I don't agree with either of them all the time, of course, but I do think that they go against, the grain of the norm when they feel like it's morally or ethically appropriate. And the last one I'm going to say is going to be really controversial, but I'm going to admit it. I've become a fan. I like Ron DeSantis. I mean, what can I say? I think the guy, I don't agree with, he's definitely on the other side of the aisle of what I've traditionally been on. I don't agree with all of his policies by any stretch of any imagination, but I like that the guy just doesn't seem to give, he's just kind of like, whatever, I'm going to do my thing, and I'm governing my state, and you guys can talk all the smack you want. I like that about Ron DeSantis. So those are my 3. All right, so I guess we need to move on to the next question. Tyroglyphics asked, when do you think the language used by everyone will change from vaccinated, unvaccinated to being protected, unprotected? When will they include those who are protected through previous infection with those who are protected through vaccination? I'm going to say probably never. That language is never going to change to that. Never.
Yeah. Right, and also the problem, it has problems on both sides of it, because vaccinated does not equal protected anymore in terms of infection. It reduces your chance of infection, reduces your chance of death and hospitalization, but it doesn't protect you completely. And on the other side, you're not, you could still, just because you have natural immunity doesn't mean you're completely immune. There have been, a friend of mine had COVID and had long COVID in 2020 and then just got Omicron. It's rarer, but it can happen.
Yeah, we need to stop labeling these things at all. It's your business. It doesn't matter for other people. You take care of yourself. Again, all the encouragement of vaccination, but it doesn't really concern anyone because it's not. You can still get it. Yeah. It's of less concern than it was when it was the case that initially with the original strain, vaccinated people were very unlikely to spread it. So then I thought there was actually a better rationale earlier for requiring vaccination than there is now, when everyone's going to get it regardless, and it's on you to protect yourself.
It would be nice to drop the labels, though. I think that's kind of it would be for many of us feel that way. Not everybody yet, but that's, I think we're getting there. So maybe at some point we'll just drop the labels. I don't think it'll switch to protected.
Drop the labels and replace them with tattoos or something. Are you clean or unclean?
No, Robbie, come on, no.
With chips.
No, I'm against that. I'm being. Right.
No, I know, but I don't want you to even mention that. Don't breathe that out into the universe.
Ghoulish
I'm afraid
overkill.
It'll happen. Oh, okay.
All right,
question.
last but not least, Cheyenne asked, if Roe versus Wade is overturned right before the midterms, which party do you think will benefit more? I think there are arguments for either side. I agree that there are arguments for either side. I guess I don't think it would make a huge difference. The media has the mainstream media has a huge, investment in repealing Roe v. Wade would be the end of the world. But it wouldn't, it would send the matter back to the states in some way, and there'd be a couple states that would go in a different direction. It would not, result in the wholesale criminalization of abortion in the entire country. So I don't know that it would have it probably would rally Democrats more than Republicans, because a mission there's nothing to achieve now on the Republican side. I don't know that they go to the polls to reward the political figures who did it. Maybe they do. So I think it's probably more likely to help the Democrats, but I don't think it would be a massive factor.
I think it's going to help the Democrats a lot.
A lot.
I think that I think that would be a driving force to the poll. I think that Democrats would come out in droves to try to elect people that would then codify Roe v. Wade. I mean, I think that would be a boon to Democrats. Ryan, what do you think?
It would definitely get them paying attention. The question would be whether or not people think that there's some connection between coming out to the polls and that meaning something when it comes to Roe v. Wade. Because, if they're thinking back to having elected a Democratic Congress and putting a Democrat in the White House in 2020 and not really getting much of what they were hoping to get, and then Roe v. Wade is overturned, then it might be hard for some of them in their minds to say, well, what's the point? I can express my anger against this system by coming out and supporting this party that I supported in the past, but they didn't really, execute on what we sent them there to do. So.
But there's always the hope that they might, right?
I
Next
suppose
time.
So. It could, it's better to, we'll analyze it in hindsight and say, we saw this. This was always obvious. Here's how, looking at the polls, we can see how this unfolded. But yeah, it's tough to know.
Yeah, we'll see how that one pans out in June. So.
I mean, it might actually matter how, in that case, it might matter how Democrats sort of framed the issue. If they their messaging on it might matter. There might be some tactical advantage to gain if they play it smartly, but they would have to actually do that.
I mean, it worked already with we need to protect healthcare, right?
Yeah.
That's how they took the House. So that message could work again. We need to protect healthcare.
Right, but they're just going to say, our democracy is in danger, even though the repeal of the decision would allow for more democratic managing of the issue, not less democratic managing of the issue. But just my view.
Okay. Well, that does it for us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys all tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.